All right, here we go, folks. Happy Thursday to you. Today's date is January 29th. We're talking about the potential for winter weather once again for the third weekend straight. And I think this weekend we actually have the best chance. Last couple weekends it was like, we're kind of on the fringe. Maybe we could, depending on what temperatures do. Well, everything is saying we're seeing snow this weekend, folks, and we do have some winter storm watches now in effect. We're also expecting some extreme cold to head our way Saturday night into Sunday morning, so a few different hazards to mention, but luckily this looks like a snow event. We're not having to worry about freezing rain. We're not worrying about sleet. The one concern is that with snow falling, that'll lead to some slick roads, so if we can keep people off the roadways, we should have just kind of a fun snow day weekend heading into Saturday and Sunday. But the wind chill, that could be dangerous. Actually looking more and more dangerous as we look towards Sunday morning with wind chills back down below 10, possibly close to a goose egg 0. So we are talking some extreme cold behind this snow. Winter storm watch now in effect for the entire CSRA. That'll be through the day Saturday into Sunday as long as that snow is still on the ground and we're below freezing. We are expecting snow totals to most likely be up to and over 2 inches across a good portion of the area, maybe some isolated spots getting over 4 inches. So this is looking like one of the better snow events we've had here in recent years, especially for us here around Augusta. But the other concern is that we are underneath an extreme cold watch for Sunday morning. That is for wind chills between 0 and 10 and possibly could get colder in a few spots. Here's a look at our watch and warning map. So this is just highlighting our winter storm watches, our extreme cold watch. Remember, a watch is put in ahead of a warning to let you know, hey, conditions are looking favorable for this to happen over the next couple of days. These will likely turn into winter storm warnings and extreme cold warnings as we do get closer to the actual event Saturday into Sunday. Here's just a brief overview of what we're expecting. So snow will start Saturday morning, last throughout most of the day. Temperatures will fall during the afternoon, so we're going to wake up kind of close to freezing and then get well below freezing by later into the day as that snow is continuing to ramp up. By Saturday night, snow is starting to come to an end. Actual temps getting down into the mid-teens. Feel like temperatures once again below 10 in most spots early Sunday morning. And then as we head towards our Sunday afternoon, we are expecting sun to return and high temps to at least get above 32 degrees, most likely in the upper 30s, not necessarily a huge warm up. All right, let's take a look at our in-house graph model, doing a pretty good job. And the thing is, most models we look at, pretty much every single one of them shows some snow across the area. So there's not necessarily a ton of model discrepancy, and we're seeing some pretty good consistency run to run between these models. Here's 8 a.m. Saturday. Snow starting to fall in the northern CSRA north of I-20, temps below freezing for that I-20 corridor. That snow will just continue dropping south of I-20 through the southern CSRA as we get towards around midday. Once again, temperatures will continue to fall throughout the day on Saturday, so snow will be able to stick and create those slick roadways across the area. 3:30 Saturday afternoon, most spots now dipping into the 20s. Pretty widespread snow across the area. And this will be most likely a really fluffy snow since the air will be so dry. And with the air being dry, well, that means our temperatures are going to be absolutely frigid out there. So wind chills by Saturday evening even will likely be below 15 out there. But snow will eventually taper off as we head later into our Saturday night. By Sunday morning, we're waking up to actual temps in the teens, and that's when we factor in some gusts, maybe 20 plus miles an hour. The wind chill is going to be dangerous out there, most likely below 10, possibly down to 0 or less in some spots. All right, so if that graph model plays out with how much snow it's expecting, well, that would lead to most likely snow totals between that 2 to 5 range, maybe some isolated areas seeing a little bit more, and that's pretty much for the entire CSRA. Now, that's a little bit more bullish than other models. You can see our globals, GFS, and European model here. GFS going basically about 2 to 4 for most spots here around the central Savannah River area. And then the Euro is going anywhere from around 3 to 6 for most spots here around the Savannah River corridor. So good model consistency. They've been showing it day after day, run after run. We haven't seen a ton of changes out there. So once again, it's a little bit different than the setups the last couple of weekends where, hey, one model's showing this, one model's showing that. Are we going to be below freezing? None of that really expected this weekend. We're going to be cold enough, and it looks like snow is going to be falling. Here's the wind chill. So by noontime on Saturday, the wind chill is already down into the mid and low 20s. It continues to just drop like a rock as we get after sunset Saturday, so 7 p.m. Feeling like 9 in Aiken, 8 in Saluda, 13 in Augusta. So that's the thing. I know a lot of us are going to want to go out and play in the snow. We need to be prepared for some extremely cold temperatures. Make sure you have the proper winter gear, your winter hat, your winter gloves, your winter boots, good amount of layers to keep that warm air close to your body. So just be prepared for those conditions. And this was a new update that just came through a few minutes ago, possibly feeling like below 0 degrees in some spots. That's early Sunday morning. So once again, that's why the extreme cold watch is in effect. We got some really cold air moving in. Just this past week, Tuesday morning, we had wind chills between 4 and 8 degrees. Looks even colder out there Sunday morning. So that could definitely lead to an extreme cold warning. Once we get towards our Sunday afternoon, feel like temperatures at least get into the 20s. But once again, we should be able to get our actual temp above freezing. Now, with that cold air Sunday, we could actually get into record territory. Our record low temp Sunday morning is 17. It was set back in 1936. Right now, we're expecting a low temp near 16. That's actual temperature, not our wind chill. So I think we could be setting a new record low for the first day of February here in Augusta. So went through a lot, all to say that, hey, we're expecting some snow this weekend, some extremely cold temperatures too. So we do have our first alert weather days in effect Saturday and Sunday. Want to make sure everyone is prepared to just stay off the roadways as soon as this snow does start and until, once again, we get above freezing to where those conditions can improve. We are live right now on TikTok, Facebook, our website, our app. Kayla, Gary, we got any pressing questions from the viewing audience?
I just think somebody really wanted to explain like the discrepancy in like last weekend with those models. Like I know you kind of briefly talked about it.
Yeah.
Like the difference in like how consistent, you know, this situation is.
So the last couple of weekends, we could look at the GFS model. It would show a lot. The European model wouldn't really show anything. Our in-house model would kind of be on an island of its own too. So the difference this weekend is that models are really agreeing with our setup that we're expecting. So we're going to have a deep upper level trough that's going to be digging south. That's going to help create an area of low pressure just off the Carolina coastline. And that is going to allow us very cold or moisture to be wrapping into very cold air, dropping in with that upper level trough. So this is looking like a consensus among models that this is what's going to unfold. Here's a look at our upper level wind pattern as we head towards the weekend. So this is just kind of highlighting what the setup will be. So we'll jump ahead here to our Saturday morning. This is that big upper level trough. So you got that your upper level low. This is going to create cyclogenesis off the southeastern coastline. So this is going to allow that surface low to form and wrap in that moisture over that very cold air that this upper level trough is going to bring with it. Now, you likely see, if you're watching the Weather Channel, anything like that, and they've been kind of keeping up with this broad pattern heading our way this weekend. Once we get this area of low pressure forming off the southeastern coastline, we'll likely see bomb cyclogenesis occur. So that is when that area of low pressure can actually drop 24 millibars or more over a 24-hour time frame. So this is going to lead to pretty classic nor'easter to bring maybe some blizzard conditions to portions of coastal North Carolina if that area of low pressure is close enough to them, and then travel up towards the northeast and bring them some pretty big snow impacts too. So this is going to be the setup. We got all the dynamics in place. We got a deep upper level trough. We're going to have area of low pressure form off the southeastern coastline, and this is the setup we need in order to see snow here in the CSRA. And with this upper level trough digging south, that is also what's going to bring us that very cold air, some of the coldest air we possibly have seen in several years. So just our wacky weather to start off 2026 continues, folks. And I would say, as we kind of been mentioning, this is the third week in a row we've had these winter weather alerts. This weekend looks to be the best chance where we will actually see some snow that will be able to accumulate across the area. So hopefully we're saving the best for last. Hopefully this is going to be a good, fun snow. People can go out and play in it, and everyone stays safe, stays off the roadways, and then we kind of go back to normal, where we warm up a little bit. We're wanting springtime to show up here soon, here in the Weather Center. But once again, we are looking at pretty good model consensus across the board. Snow does look likely across the CSRA.
You have somebody asking about what time on Saturday again, like in terms of like road conditions would it be best?
Just kind of the timeline for Saturday. All right, so let's take you through it. So our in-house model here, if you're up early Saturday morning here around I-20 or south, maybe you haven't necessarily seen a ton of snow just yet. Our better snow chances would start to creep in as we head towards the middle of our Saturday morning through midday. But maybe this model is just a little bit off with the timing, so that's the thing. I would say northern CSRA, you'll see your road conditions go down first. Once again, that snow should start north of I-20 initially and then just kind of spread across the region as we get later into the afternoon. The thing is, with this dry, powdery snow, can lead to some pretty slick conditions on roadways, so that's going to be the main concern. Maybe it takes some snow to accumulate for several hours before we really see it have an impact on the roads, because right now our road temperatures are above freezing, but this snow will be pretty continuous for several hours, and once that does happen, we're going to see some pretty slick spots on roadways, especially bridges and overpasses, and unfortunately we have a lot of both of those here around the Augusta Metro and through the CSRA. Those are going to be the areas we see first that start to have freezing problems. Even this past weekend, the Calhoun Expressway had to be closed because of icy conditions with the freezing rain we did see this past Sunday. So places like that, Calhoun Expressway, maybe the I-20 bridge, hopefully they're salting and brining before this really shows up again. Our overpasses around Bobby Jones Expressway where it meets I-20, you think of all those elevated surfaces, those will be able to freeze first too, but I would imagine GDOT is going to be putting out more brine, things like that to kind of prepare us for this weekend, but any isolated bridges, overpasses that may go over I-20, I think of Five Notch Road as well, that little bridge that goes over I-20 between exit 1 and exit 5 in Aiken County. That was another spot that froze that they had to treat again after already treating it once. So those spots is where issues do look very likely, but I would say this is going to bring us more in the way of dangerous road conditions than what this past weekend did. And then then you also think as we head towards Saturday night and Sunday morning, we are going to be so exceptionally cold that everything will stay frozen. And say you got maybe a little bit of melting on the roadways initially from those warmer road surface temperatures, well, then that's just going to really slick over once we do get that dangerous cold to head our way Sunday morning. Do you have one, Gary, that anyone was asking? Okay, so in Aiken County, pretty much everywhere the CSRA has at least the chance, I would say the better opportunity to see maybe the slightly higher totals across the area would most likely be in places like Aiken County, Edgefield County, Saluda County. Across the Midlands, through the Piedmont of North Carolina, they are expecting those snow totals to be up to and over 6 inches. So you can see slightly lower corridor for some snow totals unless you get maybe some heavy snow banding there. But for anywhere kind of east of the Savannah River, your snow totals do look a little bit better than, say, in the western CSRA on the Georgia side. I know our in-house model kind of has just kind of widespread 3 to 5 inches, but if we go back to our global models here, you can see there is definitely a consensus that kind of the southwestern CSRA will see a little bit less than kind of that Carolina side of the river. So I would say this doing a pretty good job showing kind of what we're forecasting, that maybe places like Sandersville, Wrightsville, Swainsboro, maybe you could get a dusting to 1 inch, but the higher totals would definitely be found on the Carolina side of the CSRA. But here around Augusta still, most models kind of hinting at that we should at least get up to 2 inches. So that is enough to issue a winter storm warning. So kind of why we're underneath these watches at the moment, because those type impacts are expected this weekend. So that will most likely be upgraded to a warning by tomorrow. All right, so we're going to wrap up on our website and app. We're going to continue with these afternoon updates for tomorrow too, so tune back in at 1:30. Kayla, you got anything else from the TikTok world, or are we good?
Somebody just commented and said power outage question mark.
Oh, that is one thing I didn't mention. We're not expecting a lot of power outages with this event. This is much different than the icing we were expecting last weekend. So with freezing rain, that is a power outage menace. With snowfall, less so. Could we see a power outage? Not ruling it out, especially with dangerous road conditions. You get someone that goes off the road, hits a power pole, that could lead to a power outage, but that risk is kind of there every single day with car accidents. But not expecting this snow to reach an amount to where it would cause a huge stress on power lines or trees or anything like that. Could be a little bit gusty at times, but once again, this is most likely going to be a really light powdery snow, so that wouldn't necessarily lead to a ton of excessive weight on tree branches, power lines. So not as big of a concern with power outages with this event as what we thought last weekend.
I have another one. You want to keep going?
Okay. Yeah, we're good, Gary. You can cut me off. We're just staying live on TikTok. But I think we're good too here, Kayla, right?
Yeah, we have one more question.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
I
Yeah.
don't know if the models go that far, but somebody said, like, what about Monday? Will the snow be gone?